Who were the descendants of Japheth? This question becomes extremely significant when discussing the Tarim Basin mummies, who were a group of Aryans that settled in western China during the early Bronze Age. To start out with, a large percentage of the Japhethic nations were absorbed into the Persian Empire, with the likes of Cyrus the Great having a mother who was a Mede, and this fulfilled Noah's prophecy that Japheth would dwell in the tents of Shem, because although the Persians were originally Semitic Elamites, they became one with the Japhethic Medes, and even adopted the Median clothing style. Additionally, the children of Meshech and Tubal were united to Persia as well, and we know this from Herodotus, who wrote of how they became tributaries to Xerxes and were enlisted in his army. The Assyrians also mention Meshech as a rival on their northern border, thus placing them right next to the Median Empire, which was formed to counter Assyrian imperialism. Next, we have Ashkenaz, who, according to Jeremiah, allied with the Medes to destroy Babylon. Likewise, the Hittite records mention a people dwelling upon the southern coast of the Black Sea, called the Scythians, who must have been the Ashkenazites. A princess from this region, named Medea, was described by Euripides as having a white neck, while Apollonius of Rhodes described her as having rosy cheeks. Now, there were some descendants of Japheth who did not join the Persian Empire, such as Tyrus, the father of the Thracians, although according to Strabos, a part of the Thracians went back into Asia, and they became known as the Phrygians, who were conquered by Persia. The Thracians, who did stay in Europe, ended up intermarrying with the Scythian Israelites, and this is confirmed by Proclus, who tells us that the Amazonians were of the Thracian race, and Herodotus says that the Scythians took Amazonian wives. Afterwards, the Scythians continued to go further into northern Europe, more than any of the Japhites had ever been, and this is confirmed in 2nd Ezra's when it says, "The kingdom of Israel went to a land where Adam kind had never dwelt." But going back to the Thracians, according to Xenophus, they had red hair and blue eyes. Then we have the Tarsusites, who the Celtic Israelites settled amongst, which is why Jonah wanted to flee there, because as Herodotus says, there was a colony of Israelites in Tartessos. The Tarsusites also show how Japheth was enlarged, because his descendants inhabited land from Spain all the way to Central Asia. Following that, there is Javin and his son Kittim, who were the early inhabitants of mainland Greece and the island of Cyprus, although later on, the Israelites began sailing to these regions. We know this from Herodotus, who said that the people of Phoenicia and Cyprus with the Hellenes all knew the same song. However, none of these nations settled where they found the Tarim Basin mummies. So there's only a couple other options, the first one being Magog, which according to the Syriac legend of Alexander the Great were the Huns, who later became the Mongolians, and contrary to popular belief, the ruler of Mongolia during the time of Marco Polo was described as being white. Even the children of Genghis Khan were described as being ruddy. On a side note, Matthew Paris referred to the Mongolians as Tartars, a name derived from the Greek word for hell, making them the mysterious Tartarians. Lastly, Christian of Stavelot said that the Khazars were of the Hunnic race too, and by extension, part of Magog. Yet this is not the nation the Tarim Basin mummies descended from. The nation they were a part of was Tagarma, and we know this because just southwest of where the mummies were discovered, there's a mountain range there called the Tagarma Mountains, which has a river that flows directly into the Tarim Basin. Furthermore, according to Ezekiel, the people of Tagarma were renowned for their horses, which made traveling to China possible. Tagarma is also the ancestor of the Turkish people, such as the Kyrgyz, who are described in Chinese sources as having red hair. Another Turkic tribe called the Cumans was referred to by Matthew of Edessa as the Blonde Ones, and Sultan Selim II was nicknamed Selim the Blonde. Plus, the most popular symbol of the Turks prior to their conversion to Islam was the Nazar, which is simply just a blue eye. So these are the nations of Japheth, and yes, they were all originally white.